Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about lesson 3, which is weighted means. We talked about mean before, but this time here it's called weighted mean. And why is it called weighted mean? A weighted mean occurs when some of the scores used to calculate the mean are given more importance than the other importance. Okay. To calculate the weighted mean, we multiply each score by its weight. And this is the formula for the weighted mean. Okay, so weighted mean, score times the weight, plus score times the weight plus score times the weight, and then you keep going until you're done everything. Okay, and all of that, can you see this? Like all of that has to be divided by the sum of the weights. So let's take a look. Bronwyn took Essentials 40 last semester. She scored 95% on her classwork and 65% on her provincial exam. Actually, this is what I do with the marks that we have in class. We put a weight on each category. So tests have a certain category or certain importance or weights. Provincial exam is weighted as well. So this is a classic example of a weighted mean. So it says here, calculate her final grade if classwork is weighted 80%. Okay, so the classwork is weighted 80%, and then the final assessment, which is provincial exam, is weighted at 20%. So weighted mean. Okay, so she said she scored 95%. It works or no? Okay, let's try that one. So the score is 95% times the weight of that. So the weight of that is 80%, so times 80 plus, okay, her classwork is provincial exam is 65, so that's her score. That's the score times by the weight of the provincial exam. The weight of provincial exam is 20%. So divide times 20. So all of that must be divided by the total weight. So total weight would be 80 and 20, so that makes it 100. So what we're gonna do is first figure the top number, and then whatever we figure that out, like whatever we find out from there, we have to divide by 100. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure that out. Okay, so the numerator is equal to 8,900, and then the denominator is 100. So 8,900 divided by 100, so she's gonna get 89%. So just by the looks of this, which one is more important? Which one is more important? Is it the classwork or the exam? Which one is more important?
Classwork.
Yeah, that's right. Classwork is more important. Yeah, how did you know it's more important?
More weight on it.
Has more weight on it, right? Has more importance. It's 80%. 80% value, whereas provincial exam is only 20%. Well, bringing back to the provincial exam, our exam is coming up in a few weeks, and it's 20%. So some people, because they've maintained the good marks, right? They've worked throughout the semester. Technically they've already passed the course even before the provincial exam happens. So yeah, that's because there is more emphasis on classwork. Okay, so that's that. Okay, is that good? Now let's take a look at question number B, letter B. The average of 95% and 65% is 80. Now if we take just the average, 95 and 65% is 80%. Do we agree with this one? So how do we know it's 80? 95 plus 65 divided by 2. That adds up to, that's going to give you 160 divided by 2. That's only 80%. How is it possible that he got 89 or she got 89? Okay, explain why her final mark is higher than 80. Okay.
More weight. More weight on one.
Yeah. Is or has a greater weight on classwork. So if we didn't consider the importance of classwork and provincial exam, she would have received an 80%. But because the classwork is weighted differently, then she got a higher mark. Okay. Is that good? Now let's take a look at example number 2. Jimin had the following results during his recent social work course at Red River College. An essay is 420 out of 500 marks. Presentation is 57 out of 70 marks. Calculate Jim's final grade if the term mark and exam mark are equally weighted. So what if they have the same value, they have the same importance, right? The essay and the presentation. So what would happen? Well, let's take a, before we get into that part, what we're going to do is let's figure out the percentage of this. 420 out of 500. So 420 out of 500, so divide by 500, okay, is 0.84, times it by 100 to make a percent. So 84%. So for essay, 420 out of 500, it translates to 84% on essay. Okay. What about the presentation? Presentation is 57 out of 70. So 57 divided by 70 times 100 is 81.43%. 81.43%. What we're going to do is we're just going to write it out into 2 decimal places for now, okay, because we needed our 2 decimal places for the purpose of rounding. So calculate Jim's final grades if the term mark and exam calculate Jim's final grades if the essay, let's change this, essay and presentation. Okay, if both the essay and presentation are equally weighted. Okay, well, what does it mean by equally weighted? out of 100%, it would be 50-50, right? The equal weighted. Or equally weighted. Okay, so let's figure that out. Weighted mean. So it's 84, that's the score, times the weight, so it's 50%. Right? So it's 50%. Is everybody okay with that one? So 50-50. And then the other one is 81.43 times 50 divided by the total weights of 100. So it's out of 100%. So 84, let's figure that out. Let's figure out the numerator first, whatever that number is. So
So you do the multiplication first, right? 84 times 50 and 81 times
plus,
50.
yes, yeah, that's right. Okay. So the numerator is 8,271.5 divided by 100. It's 82.72%. Okay. We're gonna keep it to 2 decimal places because that's the requirement to get into the final exam. Okay, we just want to make sure that we're comfortable with that. Is that okay? Now, that's an even split, evenly weighted, 50-50. What happens when the weight are 35-65? What would the average be, the mean, when the weight is 35-65 split? So So for essay, the score is 84 times the weight of the essay is 35%, so times 35 plus presentation is 81.43 times the weight is 65 divided by 100. Any guesses what would this be? You think it's going to be higher than 82 or lower than 82? Your guess is lower?
No.
Your guess is lower?
We're reversing it around, so it would be the other way around.
Okay. So this is a lower mark. And then there's more emphasis on this one. So overall it's gonna would be lower. Yeah, would be lower.
So 82 would be
Yeah.
there.
So let's take a look. So 84. Let me try to do that. 84 times 35. Oop. Times 35 plus 81.43 times 65. 82. Oops, sorry. I'm trying to jump into the final number. So 8232.95 divided by 100. Is 82.33%. So slightly lower. Is everybody okay? 82.33%. Or Are you talking about this number? Or the last one? Is that good? Take a look. Next page, example 3. Okay. So it says here, there's a movement in Major League Baseball to use the weighted mean to calculate the batting average. In this new system, each type of hit carries different weight. A player was at bat 28 times. He struck out 5 times and hit 4 singles, 5 doubles, 6 triples, and 8 home runs. Okay, so he struck out 5 times, 4 singles, 5 doubles, 6 triples, and 8 home runs. So if you add this up, that's going to give you 28, right? So 5 and 5, that makes it 10. 4 and 6, that's another 10, so that's 20. And then 8 home runs, so that's 28 altogether. That's for the 28 times that he's at bat. Each of these results carried a different weight. So if we were to strike out, it's worth 0. A single would be 1. A double will be worth 2. Triple is 3, and then a home run would be 4. So that's what the values are. Which one is worth more? Which one has the home run, right? We would get a 4 points. The 4 points. So it says here, use the weighted mean to determine the average. Okay, so weighted mean. Okay. So we're gonna do the score and the weight. Score and the weight. So here he got struck out 5 times, so that's the score. 5 times 0 . 4 singles, so that's 4 times 1. Is everybody okay with that piece? And then 5 doubles, so 5 doubles and double counts as 2. We got 6 triples, so that counts as times it by 3. And 8 home runs, so 8, and each home run counts as 4. So divided by 28 times that this person is at bat. So 5 times 0. So let's figure all of these out. You know, like somebody asked me before, would it be okay if I put a brackets on this? Because plus and times and plus and times and plus and times or times and plus. You could do that if you want, okay? Or if you're okay with that, leave it alone. Okay. So let's go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and give it a try? I'll try it too. So figure out the value of the numerator. Figure out the value of the numerator. you get 64 in the numerator? Okay. Now 64 divided by 28, 2.29. So 2.29. So the average of 2.29.
No, so it's not a percent?
No, it's not a percent. Because these are not percent. The 0, 1, 2, 6. That's a good question. What would be the unit for this? The average
Averages were.
points? You gotta double check that one. Is it percent or points? I'll get back to, or you can search. It's a great thing about Google. It's like batting average. Do you put points?
Yes,
I guess we'll find out. Okay. He's searching. Now, if you take a look at this, sometimes you are not provided weights, but you are provided frequency. So frequency, what does a frequency mean? So frequency means how many times the things happen, right? The frequency, we talk, how often does it show up, frequency, or appears in the data. So to calculate the weighted mean using frequency, simply replace all the references to weight and change everything to frequency. Okay, so now let's take a look at this one. Example 4. In math class, yeah. In math class, 15 students, there are 15 students. 8 students scored 75, 5 students scored 80, and 2 students scored 90%. Calculate the average for the whole class. Okay, calculate the average for the whole class. Is it okay if I move it up a bit?
Yeah.
So this one here, 8 students, that's the frequency. Frequency. They tell us how many 75% happened in that class. Well, there's 8 times that it appeared because 8 students got 75%. Right? Calculate the mean score. Should be the mean score for the class. So weighted mean. Okay. So 75%. How many are there? 8 students. Plus 80%. Oh, 80%. How many 80% are there? 5 of them. So 580. So times 5. And then 2 students scored 90. So how many 90s? So plus 90 times 2. Now, what are we going to divide it by? Are we going to divide by 100 or are we going to divide by the total frequency? Divide by 15, yes. This is a score, frequency, score, frequency, score, frequency. Did you figure it out? No. I gotta figure that out. Okay, let's figure out the numerator. 75 times 8. So the average of the class is 78.67. 78.67. Can I tell you something? I'm going to show you. Okay, I'll let you finish that one. I'm going to get a different piece of paper. Show you something different. I'm going to show you something, and then you'll say, oh, does that make sense? Okay, so let's say you're presented this question. Same question, okay? I'll try not to get rid of that one, okay? And tell me if this makes sense to us, and if it doesn't, why doesn't? I started off the same thing, 75 times 8, 80 times 5, 90 times 2. But instead of that, I divided by 100. Okay? Because people are like saying, oh yeah, because it's percent, so I'm going to divide by 100. Okay, let's see that. So this is going to give you 1180, but now it's divided by 100. It's going to be 11.8. Does that make sense? Is the average of the class 11.8? Now that doesn't make sense, right? The average can't be 11.8 because it's 75, 80, and 90. Okay? So I thought I'd show that to you, not because sometimes that comes along where like, oh, what do I divide by? Okay, so that's sometimes a question. It's like, what am I going to divide by? Okay, and then they see percent, so people put percent, and then when you get an answer, it's like, oh, well, that can't be right because it's 11%. That doesn't make sense. Okay, last but not the least. The table below shows the amount of money spent on tickets for an upcoming concert at the small venue. Determine the mean amount of money spent on tickets. Okay.
Excuse me, can I see something?
The other side?
When is our math test again?
When? Exam or?
Curious.
I think it's January 23. Is it 23? 22nd? Sooner than yeah, 22nd. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, let's get to the final one. Okay, example 5. The table shows the amount of money spent on tickets for the concert. Okay. So weighted mean. So they paid $50. How many $50 tickets are there? 3 of them, right? So times 3. 75. How many $75 tickets are there? 7. So times 7. Plus $95 times 9. Plus 130. Gotta make that better. Times 4. What do I divide by?
The sum of the tickets.
The sum of the number of tickets sold, right? Yeah. So that's going to be 3 plus 7, that's 10, plus 9, 19, plus 4, 23. Okay. Let's figure it out. divided by 23. It's gonna be 89.13. That's dollars. Okay, that's dollars because we're looking for the average ticket price. Average ticket price. So it's $89. Is that good? Okay, so that's that piece. I think that concludes that one. There's some practice questions for you to work on over here on the next page. Some practice for you on the other page as well. So I'll let you work on that. I will also give you something as well.